the cause here today is, excuse me, I gotta talk to hi.
Sure, that's
dear. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. How you
I
doing?
get one of your book. Tell me about your latest endeavor.
Okay, well, I had the most enjoyable experience of writing a book, which is daily devotions. I come from a farming background, and part of the book is about that. And I got acquainted with Drew Thomas, who has created a program here called Farm for Christ. The idea behind it here in Ashtabula County is to raise our own beef, which is then made into hamburger and distributed to the food banks in the county. So I thought, well, why don't we put together my project of writing a book along with the sense of doing something for the food banks. And so today has been a benefit day here at Giant Eagle. They've been so cooperative. And the sale of the book will result in purchasing beef cattle. We've had a very busy day, steady day all day long. People that have come by interested in either the book or in the Farm for Christ idea, and by putting the two of them together, we have found success. We've raised well over $1,000. Raised well over $1,000 today. So we'll be here again tomorrow.
How much did you think you raised today?
We raised well over $1,000 today, and so people like to have a fresh way of expressing their charity, you know. So with our Christian faith and with the very real result of feeding people, it's turned out to be a really good day for us today.
How long has this program been going on?
It's a fairly new program. It's a homegrown program. I think Drew started it about a year ago, and he started with one animal, and then every year they hope to increase the size of the herd. These cattle, these beef cattle, are purchased as young beeves, and then they are raised by farmers who already have a herd of some kind. They put it in with their herd, and then when they reach maturity, they are processed into hamburger, and then, as I say, the hamburger goes to the food banks throughout the county. The book came to the attention of the management here actually several months ago at a different event. And then when this idea came together of doing the benefit, they wanted to be a part of it, express their culture and interest. And of course, this is where the traffic is on the weekend. It's food-related, food-based, and so the whole thing has just fit together very, very nicely.
Now, do people pick up this ground beef at the food pantry itself then?
The hamburger will go through the county food bank. There's quite a network, actually, of food pantries. And I believe that Mr. Thomas is planning to work directly with the one that is based there in Orwell. And
Country Neighbor?
Country Neighbor will, I believe, be those that distribute to the others. Meat is hard to come by in food banks because of the cost. And so this seemed to be a good local answer to being able to provide that. And this will not take place until the springtime. I've written two books that are more of a training exercise for myself. I had them published in Jefferson. They were quite popular. They're brief meditations based on nature, what I like to call the scripture of nature, the handiwork of God. But I balance that against our belief in Scripture that we too are God's workmanship. And so I did two books of meditations, and then with that beginning, that training, proceeded then to create this one, which is turning out to be, appears to be quite popular with people.
How many editions have you sold so far, or is this the first day you've tried to?
In this experience here today, I believe we sold 50 copies. As far as my national sales, I'm not aware. I believe that's well over 1,000.
Who publishes the book?
This book is published by Author House, located in Bloomington, Indiana.
Now, is that a self-publishing firm or?
That's a self-publishing firm, and they provide as well not only the publishing but all related things to the publishing experience, including the marketing and the design and so on. And I do really like the design and the feel of the book. It's amazing how people sometimes decide to buy a book based on how it feels in their hands, not just about what their title is or what the subject is.
What do you enjoy about writing?
Oh, I love the whole creative process of making observations in nature and then finding in that a relationship to the scriptures. And then the third step, which of course is that turning of a thought, the research is wonderful, the feeling of being a part of the universe, but then finding the grounding, the solid truth that we know as it's revealed in Scripture. I worked at MFG for almost 40 years, but I also have been an ordained pastor all that same time, so I kind of had parallel tracks. I pastor at several different churches here in the county. Prior to moving to Ashtabula, I pastored in Denver, Colorado, Seattle, Washington, Los Angeles. And here, my most recent pastorate for 10 years was at Second Congregational Church in the Harbor.
How'd you end up in Ashtabula after you've been in Seattle and Denver?
Well, that's a real good question. I came to Ashtabula to work in the molded fiberglass company, and my jobs there over the years included the community relations work, the advertising, communications work, and finally in the marketing department and the sales travel, which took me to all 50 states and all Canadian provinces. Well, I generally identify myself with the conservative world. But the longer you think, research, and meet people and study, and you try to get a much more eclectic view and appreciation of many different viewpoints, and that's where I am these days. I feel at home worshiping in congregations of any type. There's a friend of mine, Ken Meadema, says we go to everyone's party. I'm very happy with the results today, and will be grateful for whatever happens tomorrow.